Hi, I'm Mariano with Guitar Center. Today I want to talk to you about incorporating electronic drums with your acoustic kit that is also known as a hybrid drum set. There are a lot of advantages to incorporating electronics into your acoustic kit. One of them, for example, is you can enhance your sound. What I mean by enhancing your sound is that you're not just limited to the acoustic properties of your drum set. You can layer additional sounds to your kick drum, your snare, and your toms to make them sound huge or smaller. You can also add different tones to any specific drum. So what we have here today is your typical acoustic drum set that we're actually triggering with some Roland triggers and a trigger module. The triggers we're using today are the Roland RT series triggers. Let me tell you a little bit more about what triggers actually do. So you connect the trigger to a drum and the trigger actually touches the drum head. It picks up the vibration and it sends it over to the drum module to be converted into a sound. Then you can select the type of sound that you want to add to your acoustic kit. There are three different versions to the RT series triggers. RT10T, which is for toms, RT10K for kick drum, and RT10S for snare drum. The snare drum one actually is two-zone trigger, which means it'll pick up the center of the drum and also the rim. So once we have the triggers attached to the kick drum and the snare like we have here today, you will wire them into the Roland TM2 trigger module. The TM2 has two inputs, so you can hook up two triggers at the same time, and also you can hook up drum pads. So it's not limited just to triggering your acoustic drums. You can hook up triggers such as the BT1 bar trigger or any other pads that you may want to hook into it. To me, the best feature of the TM2 is that you can actually bring in your own drum sounds via SD card. So for example, we know in the studio you have different mic techniques that you can use so you get just a perfect drum sound. Sometimes you're not going to be able to duplicate that on stage at a club or at a concert venue. So what you can do is you can pick those files for your snare drum, your kick drum, your toms, bring them into the TM2 via SD card, and you can trigger them live. So now you have your sounding just like the record. Layering sounds with the TM2 is super simple. Let me just show you how simple it is. I have the Roland trigger on my snare drum, and I have the TM2 with the tambourine sound on the center and a different tambourine sound on the rim. So I'm going to play the drum with the TM2 turned off so you can hear just the drum itself. Now I'm going to add the TM2 sound. Another thing you can add to your hybrid drum set are these new Zildjian Gen 16s that are actually been improved in the bronze finish, so they match up the other cymbals that you may have on your drum kit. What a lot of people don't know about the Gen 16 cymbals is that they are actually acoustic cymbals. They're not triggers, they're not electronic. It's a lower volume cymbal. You can see that is achieved by the hundreds of holes that they have on the cymbal. The cymbal sound is picked up by the direct source pickup, which you can see is actually attached to the cymbal, and it's this device right here with the lights. That picks up the sound, sends it over to the module where you can have different presets that you're using for different sounds, or you can actually design your own sounds. There are multiple ways you can use the Gen 16 cymbals within your drum set. First, you can actually play them just as acoustic cymbals. Maybe you don't have the pickups hooked up to them. Another application for the Gen 16 cymbal is how they're typically used. Basically, you have the cymbal, you have the pickup, goes out to the module, and then the module is hooked up to the PA. This is the ideal application for a theater drummer that needs to keep the volume down in the orchestra pit, but then can amplify the sound to the front of house. Another item you can add to your hybrid drum set are multi-pad controllers. The one that we have here today is the Roland SPD-30 Octapad. Multi-pad controllers combine the pads and the sound source in one box. So it's really easy to use. You just pretty much set it up, plug it to your amplifier or PA, and you're good to go. These units serve two purposes. You can use it as a standalone drum set, in combination with acoustic triggers or electronic pads, you can incorporate it into your hybrid drum set. So this Roland SPD-30 Octapad has 8 velocity sensitive pads that are actually separated, so there's not going to be any crosstalk. You use those pads to access the over 600 internal sounds. You can also access those sounds via acoustic triggers that you can hook up to your snare, kick, or toms, or electronic pads such as the BT1 that we have here today. One of the coolest features of this Octapad is the phrase loop. What that means is you can record yourself in real time up to 3 tracks, and you can keep overdubbing each one of the tracks for really intricate patterns. Once the pattern is saved, you can actually assign it to one of the pads and you can start and stop it so you can jam along with what you recorded. Another great unit that you can incorporate into your hybrid drum set is the Roland SPD-SX. This unit is pretty similar to the Octapad we just saw, but the main difference is that we're adding sampling. What we mean by sampling is the ability of importing your own sounds into the unit and then triggering those sounds via the pads on the unit, or connecting acoustic triggers or pads to the back of the unit and trigger those sounds that way. So those samples you're importing is not limited to just the actual drum sounds that you're going to play. You can actually import loops. There are a lot of great reasons to use loops in a live situation. A great example is, let's say you went and recorded a band with backup vocals, maybe there were some horn players or percussionists, and you may not be able to bring that whole band onto a live situation in a club or on tour. So what you can do is you can take those tracks, feed them into the SPD-SX, and then when the time comes to trigger those parts, you hit a pad and then off it goes. Along with all the sampling capabilities, this unit also features great onboard effects such as delay, filters, and many other DJ style effects. Hopefully we've given you some great ideas on how to build your very own hybrid kit. For more information, see one of our associates.